If you are not rich yet, it is not because of the world, the system, or your background. It is because you are still disobeying the laws that create wealth. This speech will give you those laws, but if you drift for even a second, you will miss the one line that could have changed your life. Do not play this casually. Listen like your future depends on it, because it does. This is not motivation, this is correction. And if you have the courage to hear it through, it will rip the excuses out of your mind and install a new identity, one that commands wealth, not begs for it. But if you stop halfway, you'll remain who you were, listen all the way through, and become what you were meant to be. Principle 1, a definite chief aim. There can be no riches without direction, no fortune without decision, no lasting wealth until a man takes full possession of his mind and declares, with clarity and without hesitation, what he wants from life. A man who desires to become a millionaire but has not yet committed to a definite aim is like a ship without a rudder. He may move, he may work, he may even appear busy, but he will drift endlessly, tossed by the waves of opinion, distraction, and circumstance. Wealth begins with purpose. The first law, the first discipline, the first principle you must engrave upon your soul is this: define your definite chief aim and obey it daily. This is not a suggestion. It is not one option among many. It is the cornerstone of all riches. Every man who has accumulated wealth that endures began by answering one burning question with finality. What do I want? It must be clear. It must be measurable. It must be written. And it must be felt with fire every time it is spoken. You cannot grow rich by wishing vaguely for money. You cannot command your subconscious with cloudy ambitions. You must give the mind a target, a single definite target, backed by desire so fierce that it burns through hesitation and melts away excuses. If you cannot answer in one sentence, without pause or stutter, what you are building and why you must build it, then you have not yet begun the path to riches. You are still wandering in the desert of the uncertain. I was once challenged by Andrew Carnegie, a man whose wealth built empires and whose vision transformed entire industries. He asked me, "What is your definite purpose?" And when I hesitated to answer, he smiled, not in amusement, but in recognition. He knew I had not yet begun, because the man who cannot name his aim has not yet earned the right to pursue it. That question changed my life, and it must change yours. What is it you truly want? Do not say, to be rich. That is not enough. Do not say, to succeed. That is too vague. You must name the amount, the outcome, the timeline, and the emotional reason behind it. You must write it. You must sign your name beneath it. And you must say it aloud every morning and every night until your subconscious begins to treat it as law. Because once the mind accepts it as law, it begins to rearrange every detail of your behavior, your attention, and your results to obey the command. Let me give you structure. This is your chief aim declaration, and it must follow this pattern. I demand of myself the attainment of exact amount or result by specific date, through method or service. I will give in return what you are willing to exchange, and I will pursue this with full belief, daily repetition, and relentless action until it is done. Do not merely read it. Speak it with emotion, with energy, with finality. Your subconscious must hear your voice issue command, and it must hear it consistently. It is not repetition alone that rewires the mind. It is repetition with fire. Understand this. Without a chief aim, your energy is scattered. You will work hard but go nowhere. You will think much but decide little. You will move but without progress. Your subconscious will receive mixed messages, and your results will be as confused as your direction. This is why most men stay poor. It is not because they lack opportunity. It is because they have not told their mind clearly what it must obey. But the moment you commit, fully, emotionally, and in writing, your mind begins to align. Distraction loses its power. Fear loses its grip, excuses dissolve, and the world, seeing a man who knows what he wants and moves toward it without apology, begins to move with him. Every successful man I have studied, every empire built, every fortune amassed, was preceded by the formation of a single definite purpose. Henry Ford knew what he wanted, a car every working man could afford. He did not drift from that aim, even when laughed at, even when resisted. He repeated the aim. He believed the aim. He worked the aim. And so it was done. So must you. Do not ask if it's realistic. Do not seek permission from those who have none to give. Do not speak it softly, as if testing your desire. Declare it, repeat it, act upon it, and never again entertain any aim that does not align with the one you've written. Now take a page. Write your chief aim today, not tomorrow, not after thinking about it. Now, then commit to the following. Speak it aloud upon waking. Speak it aloud before sleep. Take one action each day that serves this aim. Track your proof. Record your movement. Refuse to contradict it in word or deed. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual law. You are now instructing your inner mind to become your servant, and it will serve you with power if you treat your aim as sacred. Say this aloud now. Let it be written upon your mind. I know what I want. I write it, I speak it, I pursue it without pause. Again, I know what I want. I write it, I speak it, I pursue it without pause. Let this become your commandment. Let this become your compass. Because until you define your chief aim, you are not building wealth. You are only rehearsing the fantasy of it. You were not born to wander. You were born to aim and to strike with precision. Principle 2, faith backed by action. No man becomes rich without faith, and no man remains poor without the absence of it. But let me say this with piercing clarity. Faith without action is deception. A man may speak of belief, he may recite affirmations, he may dream great dreams, but if he does not move, if he does not obey the instruction of his own voice, he is not faithful, he is fooling himself. Faith is not the luxury of the religious. It is the requirement of the successful. It is not a whisper. It is not a feeling. It is mental command. It is belief so strong that it becomes movement. Belief that pulls the body forward even when fear stands in the way. Belief that speaks loudly into silence, that acts without approval, and that persists until the world surrenders to the vision. Let me give you the pattern by which faith is built, not hoped for, but constructed with discipline. Repetition of thought, emotion applied to that thought, speech of that thought with conviction, action in harmony with that thought, persistence until results appear. This is not a passive formula. It is not for those who treat success as a wish. This is the process by which faith becomes substance, and substance becomes wealth. You must understand now, faith is not given, it is built. No man wakes up one day fully convinced. He must train himself. He must feed the thought of belief every morning before the voices of the world try to steal it. He must speak aloud what he intends to become before doubt has a chance to take root. And the tool, the chisel with which you carve belief into the walls of your subconscious, is autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the repetition of instruction to the subconscious until it submits. It does not happen in one day, but it does happen. And when it does, the subconscious stops questioning and starts commanding. You will begin to act in alignment, not because you force yourself, but because your mind has accepted belief as its natural state. Each morning you must look yourself in the eyes and say, I believe in my chief aim. I believe in my ability to build wealth. I believe I am becoming who I have declared. You must say it with fire, with authority, with intention. Because the subconscious does not respond to mumbling, it responds to emotional repetition. Let me remind you of a man who mastered this law, Thomas Edison. Edison failed over 10,000 times, but he did not stop. Why? Because he had trained himself to see the result before the world could see it with him. He had no blueprint. He had no certainty, but he believed with such tenacity and acted with such obedience that the result had no choice but to appear. That is not luck. That is faith backed by action. Had Edison believed but not acted, the light bulb would not exist. Had he acted once, then given up, we would not speak his name today. But he believed daily. He acted continually. He persisted without apology. And that is the law. You cannot speak belief and behave in doubt. You cannot affirm wealth and act in fear. The mind will reject the contradiction. You must speak and act in the same direction. You must behave like the man you have declared yourself to be. Do not say, I believe I will be rich, and then spend your day in passivity. Do not say, I am building wealth, and then postpone the very work that builds it. Faith that is not followed by obedience is not faith at all. You may say, but I don't feel ready. I answer, you don't build faith by waiting. You build it by moving. Faith grows through use. The more you speak it, the more you act upon it, the more your subconscious begins to believe, this man is serious. And once your mind believes you, the world begins to follow. Now let me give you your daily formula for building faith. Speak your chief aim aloud morning and night. Declare your belief aloud with emotion. Visualize the result as if already achieved. Take one action daily that aligns with that belief. Write down what you did and how it proves your faith. Repeat it. This is not motivation. This is mental reprogramming. You are installing belief where there was once doubt, and you are doing it by treating your thoughts, your speech, and your action as sacred commands. Do not break the rhythm. One broken day tells the subconscious, I did not mean what I said. But 30 days of obedience tells the subconscious, this is who I am now. Say this aloud with full conviction. I believe, I act, I persist, I receive. Again. I believe, I act, I persist, I receive. Let it replace your hesitation. Let it override the old voice. Let it become your new foundation. You do not build wealth by hoping it appears. You build wealth by believing it is already yours and acting as if nothing else is possible. Principle 3, decision without hesitation. Every fortune, without exception, is the result of a single decision, not many. One decision made with conviction, with finality, and without the permission of fear. The man who cannot decide cannot build. The man who hesitates when truth is clear forfeits the wealth that would have been his, not because he was unworthy, but because he was uncertain. If you are to become wealthy, you must become decisive. You must train yourself to say, this is what I want. This is what I will do. This is what I require of myself. And you must say it once and obey it until the work is done. I have studied hundreds of the most powerful men in business, finance, and invention. Not one of them succeeded without speed and firmness of decision. I asked myself, what separates these men from the thousands who live and die in quiet failure? The answer echoed back from every corner of their lives. They decided. They did not entertain their fears. They did not return to doubt. They made decisions based on what they had chosen to believe, not what others believed for them. And once the decision was made, they acted, and they did not reverse it unless reason demanded it. But most men do the opposite. Most men change their minds often. They start and stop. They say yes, then no. They delay under the disguise of thoughtfulness. But behind that delay is not wisdom, it is fear. And fear is the enemy of wealth. Indecision is not neutral. It is not harmless. Every time you hesitate after knowing what to do, you weaken your identity. You train your subconscious to question your voice. You blur the message you've written through repetition. You fracture the command you gave yourself in the quiet hours of belief. You must now resolve deep within that your words will mean something again. And that means from this moment forward, you do not speak commitment unless you plan to obey it without delay. Let me give you a story that will burn this truth into your soul. Henry Ford, one of the clearest examples of mental definiteness, once made the decision to build an 8-cylinder engine. Every engineer said it was impossible. His own team came back again and again, claiming defeat. But Ford did not entertain reversal. He said, "Build it anyway." He did not explain. He did not soften. He had already decided. And because of that mental finality, his men kept building until the engine was completed. Not because it was easy, but because his decision created the outcome. This is what separates the few who become rich from the many who dream. Most men say, "I'll think about it." But thought without action is spiritual decay. "I'll think about it" is the anthem of the uncertain. You must replace that phrase today. From this point forward, you speak this instead: "I've decided." That phrase alone will shift your life, because when the mind hears it often enough, it stops retreating. The subconscious, trained to obey your command, begins to deliver energy, clarity, and motion, not because you forced it, but because you decided first. Do not ask the world if you are ready. The world does not decide. You do. Do not say, "I'll wait and see." That is not how wealth is built. That is how it is lost. Decision is spiritual leadership. It is the force that turns thought into action and action into momentum. Without it, your chief aim is a wish. With it, your aim becomes a command. Let me now give you your daily training. Each morning, repeat: "I am a decisive man. I act on truth. I finish what I begin." Each time you face a choice, ask, "Do I already know what to do?" If yes, decide. Write one decision you've been avoiding and commit to take action on it today. Do not reverse decisions unless your definite chief aim is threatened by them. Refuse to speak words of hesitation. Replace them with declaration. This is how the rich think. They do not drift from thought to thought. They make decisions aligned with their aim, and they stay the course. Say this aloud now. I decide quickly. I act decisively. I do not wait. Again, I decide quickly. I act decisively. I do not wait. This is no longer a principle. It is your identity. Because every time you decide, you rise, and every time you hesitate, you lose ground. You are not called to live in doubt. You are called to lead yourself boldly. Decide, obey, and never reverse without cause. Principle 4, persistence until completion. The riches of life do not belong to the clever, the lucky, or even the most talented. Riches belong to the man who refuses to stop. Wealth is not earned in the first attempt. It does not arrive at the first sign of enthusiasm. It appears only after the average man has given up, and the man of persistence has remained. Let me make this as plain as sunlight. You will not become rich if you stop. You will not become powerful if you pause. You will not fulfill your definite chief aim if you treat resistance as a sign to retreat. You must condition yourself to obey this one principle with unwavering discipline. I persist until the task is done. The world will reward you only when you prove that you are immune to delay, because delay will come, distraction will come, failure will arrive. But these are not signs to quit. They are the tests that separate the wisher from the builder. I once wrote of a man who dug for gold in the mountains of Colorado. He had the equipment, the vision, the enthusiasm. But after a few short months of digging, he found nothing. He gave up. He sold the machinery to a junk man and walked away. That junk man, however, consulted a mining engineer, studied the fault lines, and began digging again. And just 3 feet from where the first man had quit, he struck gold. Now let me ask you, who was more gifted? Who had the greater opportunity? The answer is neither. The difference was persistence. You see, the first man wanted riches, the second man obeyed the law of persistence, and so it is with you. If you begin but do not finish, you train your mind to expect retreat. Your subconscious begins to doubt your voice. It says, "He means well, but he won't follow through." And after enough broken patterns, your identity begins to rot. But when you persist, especially when you do not feel like it, your mind records, "This man can be trusted." Every act of persistence deepens belief. Every finished task cements identity. And the world, which resists the undisciplined, yields to the relentless. Let me give you a pattern that must now govern your work. Begin only what you have decided to finish. Finish what you begin, no matter the resistance. Refuse to delay. Delay teaches retreat. Completion teaches command. Speak aloud daily. I persist until it is done. Record your completions as proof of belief. This is not emotional advice. This is law. A man who finishes is a man who earns. A man who pauses, hesitates, quits, no matter how gifted, remains broke in identity. Now, let me speak plainly. You will be tempted to stop. Your results may not arrive on your timeline. The applause may be delayed. The reward may be invisible for a season. But that is when the real builders advance, because the man who persists does not need the world's encouragement. He obeys his own voice. Do not allow yourself to entertain phrases like, "Maybe I'll pick it up later." "It's not working fast enough." "It shouldn't be this hard." These are the whispers of failure. And if you listen, you become their servant. Instead, repeat daily, I persist until it is done. I do not pause. I do not retreat. Say it again. I persist until it is done. I do not pause. I do not retreat. Let that become your sword. Let it cut through fatigue, confusion, and fear. You must finish, even when the finish line feels far, even when results are silent, even when no one claps. Because the finish is what installs the identity of wealth, not the start, not the enthusiasm, the finish. Riches do not come to the early starter, they come to the relentless completer. Now examine your life. What have you begun and not finished? What idea was once clear but abandoned at the first resistance? What task sits waiting for the man you promised to become? Go back and complete it. Redeem the pattern, restore your identity, and never again call yourself the man who starts with fire but ends in smoke. From now on, you finish, you persist. You become the rare man who does not stop, and that is why wealth will obey you. Principle 5, controlled attention. The riches of life do not yield themselves to the distracted man. They do not bow to the scattered. They do not submit to the one whose mind is split between ambition and amusement, between purpose and pleasure, between discipline and drift. The man who becomes wealthy is the man who learns to hold one idea until it is built. He does not chase 10 desires. He does not speak 100 wishes. He holds one definite aim with the strength of iron, and he bends every thought, every action, every conversation, every hour of his day to serve it. That is the law of controlled attention. And let me say this plainly. Attention is energy. It is your greatest currency. It is the force that determines whether you build or merely imagine. If your attention is scattered, if you give it away to noise, opinion, distraction, and mental entertainment, then you are handing your creative power to forces that do not serve you. You may work hard. You may read books. You may tell yourself you are trying. But if your attention is not under your control, your destiny never will be. Controlled attention is the act of commanding your mind to obey one aim, one decision, one outcome, without deviation. It is mental discipline at the highest level. It is what separates men of power from men of potential. Because potential means nothing if it is never channeled. And most men never become powerful simply because they never learned how to think in one direction long enough to produce anything real. You must now train yourself to master this principle, not with occasional bursts, but with daily command. From the moment you rise until the moment you rest, you must hold your chief aim in the forefront of your mind. You must speak it aloud, write it in your planner, see it in your decisions, feel it in your behavior. You must become so obsessed with that one purpose that every stray thought is measured by this single question: does this serve my aim or stall it? Every time you return to that question, you take back control. Every time you allow yourself to be pulled by noise, emotion, or fear, you surrender it. Let me give you a man who mastered this principle with precision. John D. Rockefeller, criticized by politicians, hated by competitors, misunderstood by the press. Yet never once did he allow the opinions of men to distract him from his vision. He held his objective in the forefront of his mind and returned to it again and again with unwavering attention. He did not allow anger to interrupt it. He did not allow praise to inflate it. He walked with quiet focus, and because of that, he built one of the greatest empires in history. This is not accidental. It is intentional. Most men will never experience the fruit of controlled attention because they never silence the noise long enough to hear their own voice. They allow themselves to be pulled by headlines, envy, emotion, and novelty. Their minds jump from subject to subject, never remaining long enough to build anything that lasts. And so their lives reflect the same pattern: incomplete, restless, aimless. You must be different. From now on, your attention belongs to your decision. When a distracting thought arises, you do not entertain it. You say aloud, "That does not serve my purpose." When emotion pulls you away from discipline, you do not indulge it. You return to your chief aim, you repeat it, you visualize it, you move in its direction. This is not rigidity, this is spiritual order. The man who controls his attention controls his results. Now let me give you a discipline that will restore the power of your mind. Each morning, repeat your chief aim aloud. Do not whisper, command. Before every task, ask, "Does this serve my aim?" If not, cut it off. If your attention drifts, do not criticize, return immediately to the aim. In moments of stress or fatigue, repeat aloud, "My attention is mine. I fix it on wealth. I fix it on success. I fix it on my decision." Track how often you return to the aim. The stronger this reflex becomes, the faster your results will arrive. Controlled attention is not merely a concept, it is the governor of all other principles. Without it, you cannot persist. Without it, you cannot believe. Without it, you cannot act with consistency or build any form of wealth that endures. The mind, like a magnifying glass, must be fixed on a single point if it is to ignite anything. Scattered light warms nothing, but focused light can burn through steel. The same is true of your thought. If you allow your attention to drift to everything you fear, everything you envy, everything that offends your comfort, you will never build. But if you control it and you fix it on your aim like a man who refuses to be denied, you will build faster, stronger, and with more certainty than men twice as gifted, but 10 times more distracted. Say this now: "My attention is mine. I fix it on wealth. I fix it on success. I fix it on my decision." Again, my attention is mine. I fix it on wealth. I fix it on success. I fix it on my decision. This is how you become unshakable, not by working harder, but by thinking with discipline. Do not allow a single day to pass without fixing your mind on the one thing that matters. Because your aim is not a suggestion, it is your instruction. And from this point forward, your attention must obey. Principle 6, the Mastermind Alliance. There is no such thing as a self-made man. That phrase, so often repeated by those who have not studied success, is an illusion. No man climbs to great wealth or power alone. No man, no matter how brilliant, how determined, how relentless, builds an enduring fortune by the force of his own isolated mind. Every fortune is built through alliance. Every true success is born of harmony between minds, working toward a definite purpose. This law is as firm as gravity, and if you violate it, if you attempt to do everything by yourself, you will delay your rise, exhaust your spirit, and multiply your failures. The principle I now give you is not optional. You must establish what I call a mastermind alliance. The mastermind is not a business group. It is not a casual circle of acquaintances. It is not even a team in the traditional sense. The mastermind is a spiritual and psychological partnership, between two or more minds united in perfect harmony around a common aim. It is the merging of thought. It is the amplification of belief. It is the multiplication of power. When two minds meet in agreement and fix their energies upon one definite purpose, a third, intangible force is created between them, greater than the sum of its parts. That third force is the mastermind itself. It is real, it is invisible, and it is the power behind every dynasty, every empire, every enduring institution of wealth. The richest men I have ever studied did not stand alone. Henry Ford walked with Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and Luther Burbank. These men met regularly, not for entertainment, but for the sharpening of each other's minds. Their wealth did not come from chance. It came from collaboration fueled by shared vision and mental discipline. Andrew Carnegie, one of the greatest industrialists the world has known, confessed that he owed the majority of his fortune not to his own intellect, but to the power he accessed through the council of advisors who formed his mastermind. He brought their wisdom together. He unified their efforts. And through that, he built an empire no man could have accomplished alone. This is not philosophy. This is law. If you wish to grow rich, you must obey it. Now let me tell you what the mastermind is not. It is not formed with the doubtful. It is not built with the lazy. It does not function with those who contradict your aim, who roll their eyes at your purpose, who speak in tones of sarcasm or spiritual hesitation. The mastermind can only exist where harmony exists. There must be unity of vision, unity of values, unity of speech. One member doubting your aim is more dangerous than 10 enemies because he weakens the power of the collective. Your mastermind must be sacred. It must be selective, and it must be protected like the foundation of your own mind. Choose men who believe. Choose men who build. Choose men who obey their word. Choose men who would rather act than debate, who would rather create than complain, who see your success as a shared victory, not a threat to their comfort. If no one around you fits this pattern, then begin alone. Speak aloud your aim. Discipline your mind, and as you grow, you will attract those whose minds are tuned to your frequency. But the first alliance must be internal. Your conscious mind and your subconscious mind must become allies. They must stop opposing each other. You must stop speaking one thing and doing another. You must stop declaring